Very first thing is there is a concept called as business workflow, and whenever business is talking, they'll talk like this, what is a workflow? Basically, they are talking about what is a process. Like the first the call comes, it gets assigned to the tier 1 rep. Then tier 1 rep, he tries to troubleshoot it. If he cannot, then he assigns it to tier 2 rep. Then tier 2 rep, he tries to troubleshoot. If he cannot, he passes on to tier 3 rep. Then if tier 3 rep cannot troubleshoot it, then he cannot assign it to tier 4 rep. It has to be assigned for approval to someone first. Then once it gets approved, so that is a workflow. Then it goes to tier 4. Okay, so this is one workflow. Then there are other workflows like when a call from a premium customer comes, it goes directly to tier 3 rep, something like tier 4 rep, whatever. So that is a business workflow. Okay, so whenever business talks about their process flow or workflow or process flow or anything, it may not really boil down to siebel workflow. It may not really map directly to siebel workflow. Siebel workflow is quite very different. For example, assignment of task. In siebel, it really means the rep, tier 1 rep will assign it to tier 2 rep using the assignment, like using the sales team field, or he'll change the owner of the service request. So it will be quite easy. There is no actually application of workflow there, siebel workflow there, although business workflow has been achieved. What is siebel workflow then? Basically, siebel workflow is really like a sequence of functions. Functions means like the actual code, the way you used to have in C and VB and all, right? So you will write let's say you want to write a, okay, before we go to workflow, let's understand what is a business service. Business service is really nothing but it's a code. Business service means it's a chunk of code. Let's say you want to create a field in the other field you want to show the square root of the first field. Just hypothetical example, you'll have to write the square root function, right? In siebel you'll write a business service, right? So business service is really nothing but it is a script code in it, and it is just a chunk of code. There is no other vanilla object there. It is totally custom object. You can create a new business service with new script code. Siebel does provide certain out of the box business services also. That's a different point. Now the point is like it is really a chunk of code. There is no other Siebel other objects in it. It's just a chunk of code, script, and it does something specific. For example, let's say you want to ensure that in the night batch should run and it should close all the open opportunities which have been opened for the last it should change to close for some reason. You simply write a business service. It will get kicked off and so on and so forth. So it has these kind of, it's like a chunk of code. What is workflow? Workflow is basically whenever you want to execute certain code in a sequence, you would use siebel workflow. By the way, this siebel workflow is also called as siebel business process manager. In siebel 7 it's called as business process manager or business process. So again, and I'm again saying it looks like it's becoming very close to business concept, but it is as far from business concept as it ever was. Okay, so this is how the workflow looks like. Again, looks like a business workflow, but pretty much this is all a chunk of code. This is just a sample workflow provided by in the sample database for training purposes. So the way it really works is from one function to it starts, and then it goes from one function to another, and the same way like the function passes a parameter. This is how you specify this is the input argument, this is the output argument of this box. And for every dabba that you saw in that workflow, actually at the heart is the business service. So business service is that code, chunk of code is basically the main thing that will get executed as part of this workflow. The only thing is business service is just a chunk of code, and this workflow basically connects those as part of sequence. So let's say just a sample thing. Let's say you want to ensure that just as a person submits the order, it should be submitted into SAP, into the ERP system, and there should be a message response back from SAP, which Siebel should capture and publish it on the order record that okay, this was submitted successfully in a real-time manner. Answer is you have to use Siebel workflow. Just as you click submit, a workflow will get kicked off. It will pass on all the parameters of that order as input to that first process. That first process will kick off the second process, which will load it onto the MQ series. It will go there, and then the third process will wait for the response. So you have to put like a kind of wait So it will wait for the response, and then it will pick it from there, and then it will pass it on to the order business component. It will update the order, and it will start showing on the GUI.
We are discussing about this address validation.
Yes, we will need the workflow. Yes, yes, it will be done using the workflow, right? The address validation will also be done using the workflow. Yes, if you have to query a third-party database, you'll have to use workflow, right? So any kind of real-time integration basically will involve workflow, right? And I'm sure you must have heard that real-time integration is used using siebel EAI and siebel EIM. Siebel EIM is used for batch integration. So all that is basically embedded as part of EAI. So if you see, look at this one also. If you look at this one also, this is EAI siebel adapter. This workflow is also about sending data to actually to SAP. This BAPI is, I think, SAP technology for integration, right? Right? iDocs and all those. So at the heart of this particular box is basically the EAI adapter of siebel. Okay, so siebel out of the box provides adapter. You can combine it as part of business service, and business service can be involved in workflows. So the things that you need to know about workflow as a BA, you don't need to code all this. Okay, but you should know that the way you thought that this will need a workflow, that's enough. Other thing you need to understand is how the workflow will be invoked. That is a hardcore siebel BA duty. How the siebel workflow will be invoked. Okay, what will be the consequence? What will be the do you need any kind of response also from the from the target system or not? All these are some of the things that you'll be basically, for example, look at this our colleagues this thing project that is also done using a kind of a workflow. It goes there and fetches the data and it shows in the GUI. So it's all using workflow. So in this case, you have to design the entire workflow in the sense that you don't have to code anything. You don't even have to mention these technical steps. But from a business workflow standpoint, you should say that okay, message should carry these things. Content ID. So you should analyze both the systems and come out with the content ID is a unique key, which is a cross-reference key among both the systems. So all this analysis is your job. You have to specify the input parameters of the first step itself, like the content ID. But what will be the subsequent steps and all that, you don't need to worry about all that. So pretty much you don't have to worry about this workflow, but you should know at least something. You cannot say and any day you can go into this screen, you can understand at a high level what it means. It is activation date, it is expiration date. Some workflows can be like this, that they will be activated till certain point of time. For example, there another requirement. Let's say just as an email should be sent out to all the people. A survey email should be sent out to all the people whose service request got closed today. Okay, so then that means that in the night a batch will run within siebel, right, which will look at all the service requests which have closed status and where the last updated date is today. Okay, right, so it will go and check those and send so this whole thing will be done using workflow. Basically you have to write a kind of, you just simply say that just run this batch, he'll be able to do it, but this will be done using workflow. But look at your part, what you have to analyze. If an opportunity is if a service request is already closed and it has been closed for 10 years, but someone just goes and updates something on it, it will be picked up as part of that workflow. So this is your problem. This analysis must have been done by you, must be done by a BA. You see my point? This is your analysis. So you just think the repercussions are kind of huge. After 10 years you see service request has been taken care of, Mr. Like such a weird thing. So this will be your issue. This is really your issue. So so there is a lot of analysis to be done whenever we come up with a requirement, and you will realize that requirement analysis will become a big deal at many points of time. Okay, so there is a very typical requirement that let's just as a service request comes, tier 1 rep is kind of he will receive this request. Then he doesn't know who has a relevant skill. He would like to simply say, okay, off me, I cannot do it. It is related to laptop. How does he know that out of 6,000 tier 2 reps, which one has the capability to resolve this service request? Actually, system should do this one. He should simply leave it, say, okay, off me, like it should get off me. He should unassign himself from that service request, and then service request will basically get into a queue. That's what we call it. From a business, in a business language, we say that it should get into a queue. Then that queue should take a decision. Okay, which rep is free, which rep is not free, whether that particular rep belongs to he has the ability to resolve service request of type service, desktop, laptop, so on and so forth. So all these decisions will be taken by that queue. He should also check whether the rep is available today or not. There is no work assigned to him. He's a laptop guy, and let's assign him. That's not a good idea. Maybe he's on vacation today. So this queue should have the ability, basically system should have the ability to check each and every person and take the first service request, and then it should assign it to the person, right? Obviously tier 1 rep cannot do a very good job there. So this assignment is really very important for any kind of call center automation. Okay. The way you can model this kind of thing is, there is an object, or there is an entity, there is a record of a certain entity which needs to be assigned. Then there is a criteria, on the basis of this it gets assigned. Then there are candidates to whom it gets assigned. Okay. Okay. The objects that can be assigned in siebel are, one is service request, account, contact, opportunity that can be auto assigned, prospects, they can be assigned by this assignment manager. The criteria on the basis of these things can be assigned are skill based, workload based, availability based. There could be other criteria as well. Then the candidates to whom it can be assigned is, Subhash, can you tell me any good example of a candidate? Some of the candidates are positions, users, employee, organization, partner. So there is a complete list. Out of the box, there is a list. You can go to some place in siebel, you can see that. I think in siebel, one of the bookshelves, you can see all the entire list of all the out of the box available objects. But you know that in you can the aspect of siebel that you can go to SRF. If there is any other object that you want to make assignable, you can do certain tweakings in SRF. Developer can do certain tweakings in SRF, then he can make it assignable. Okay, he can make it assignable. Then it will be available in the GUI to be assigned. Okay, then he can set it up in assignment manager. That whenever someone does this thing, then it gets it. And then the criteria is also out of the box. There are certain criterias. Then there are certain candidates also. Okay.
Like if
this can be set up in siebel. The application administrators will set it up. When it comes to requirement gathering, your work will be quite easy. As far as documentation is concerned, like the model is concerned, really it will be quite easy for you. When this object comes, then when a service request gets created, then this is what should happen. On the basis of this criteria, it should get assigned to this candidate. Actually, that is not the difficult part. Difficult part really comes when you have to analyze something. Like at what point the assignment should get triggered, and whether it is a good idea to assign it on the basis of criteria or not. For example, availability. Okay, whether the person is on vacation or not. So your analysis should say whether, like, for system to function properly around availability, whether the rep is on vacation today or not has to be in the system somewhere. So you have to create you have to teach the reps to ensure that that their availability is entered in the system by them, or you have to tell the managers to enter. Like, let's say a rep doesn't come on a particular day, then manager should go into the system and enter that thing. Otherwise, system availability, like this whole availability based criteria will not work properly. So that will be your job, to ensure that all the peripheral tasks that are required for assignments to work are handled properly. Needless to say, these assignment managers, they really end up becoming like a junk piece of code, because they really don't work that well, because people don't update their skills too well. Like, let's say someone okay, every service request will be assignable. Okay, like
we manually assign it.
No.
The user assigns himself, then it will go.
Okay, user, like typical workflow in this case is